What's up everybody, it's Man of Low Moral Fiber here. My name's Luke, and this is going to be a playthrough of the 5th Headhunter Pack for Borderlands 2, called Sir Hammerlock vs. the Son of Craw Fight. This DLC pack came out on April the 14th of 2014, and it will unfortunately be the last piece of DLC for Borderlands 2. Which, you know, is kind of bittersweet. We already know the next iteration in the series is coming in Borderlands the pre-sequel. But it is sad to know that Borderlands 2 is going to go ahead and conclude after this DLC, basically, as far as content being added to the game goes. I'll still be playing the game, obviously. I really enjoy it. This is my first playthrough of this quest, so I actually have no idea where I'm really going. And because of that, it takes a little bit longer than some of my other playthroughs of certain quests where I actually know where I'm going. But I thought it'd be fun to go ahead and upload, you know, my first playtime in the DLC at all, really. I haven't played it. This was the first time I played it, so like I said, I don't know where I'm going, and I hope that's not a problem for you guys. You'll get to see me kind of figure it out along the way, and I'll be sure to tell you, you know, my thoughts on the whole thing. One thing that is really cool about this DLC is that the 3 Vault Hunters from the past generation have a lot of dialogue during it, and kind of conversations with Sir Hammerlock, and there's some tongue-in-cheek jokes along the way that are pretty funny. And what's really cool is that you get to hear Mordecai talk about his new bird, which, you know, is pretty cool. As someone who played Mordecai in Borderlands 1, I think it's pretty cool that he's, you know, going to get another bird, and this one's, I don't want to spoil anything for you guys, but you are watching a playthrough, so things will get spoiled, and I apologize for that. But the new bird's going to be called Talon, which I think is a, you know, really cool name for a bird. They have talons. So right now, Sir Hammerlock's going to go up and open this gate for us. And, you know, it's pretty standard procedure for opening like a map up. An NPC opens part of the map here, and this is a pretty common mechanic in games. Now he's going to go ahead and get stolen, kind of like a Zelda style. I remember there's multiple Zelda dungeons. The one I'm thinking of is the Earth Temple or whatever in the Wind Waker, where your little guy gets stolen and you have to fight through the whole area to get him back. And that's kind of what this reminded me of. Obviously, you know, it's not exactly like that or anything, but it's kind of close. What we're going to do here is go ahead and find something that we can get Hammerlock sent off. Obviously, Hammerlock, next to Mordecai, was one of the heavier drinkers, you know, from the main story, I guess. And, you know, did he do any drinking in the 3rd DLC? He might have, but, you know, his position in Sanctuary is right next to the bar, so it stands to reason that he is an alcoholic. And, I mean, he's permanently there. I don't want to pass judgment on the guy, but he stands right next to the bar at all times, and he's gay apparently, so he's not there for Moxie. And yeah, that would just imply that he's only there for the alcohol. Anywho, this kind of reinforces that because he has a bunch of moonshine. These are something that I've found around here, these insert treasure syringe. I haven't figured those out yet. When I do, I will let you guys know about those as well. There are multiple pods around the island that have that little dialogue there, the press X to inject syringe or whatever, and I haven't found the syringe, so I'll try to find that and have that video up pretty soon as well. But we found the whiskey that Hammerlock had, and we're going to inject that into some of these Varkids. Another thing I will need to test is if you can actually spawn Verm during this area, or during this DLC, because there are multiple Varkids about. Obviously, and it would be pretty cool if you could summon Verm from these Varkids. I'll have to go ahead and run Enemy Swapper and figure that out. You know, that'll be something pretty cool if he can actually spawn. I'll try to get him to fight Cromerax or something. I guess we should go ahead and bring that up now since we have some time while we're trying to chase this Varkid or follow this Varkid. There is going to be a raid version of this Son of Craw Fight battle after you complete the battle for the first time. That was confirmed a while back. I think Gearbox went ahead and let everyone know that. So there's a full-sized raid boss after you complete this quest, and that's pretty cool. And he's actually pretty tough. I've only fought him about, you know, 3 or 4 times now, just enough to win once, and I'm going to start formulating strategies on how to do it efficiently, because right now he's still pretty new to me, and I don't know exactly what to do. But I'll have that video to you guys, you know, as soon as I get a kill that I'm comfortable showing everybody. I don't want to show me looking like a scrub or anything. Anywho, we're going to follow this Varkid now. The Varkid kind of stopped. This was kind of confusing to me. I thought he was just pausing for this dialogue. But once the dialogue stops, he's still kind of just sitting here. And so I didn't really know what to do. I think this is probably just a glitch. I don't think he's supposed to just sit there like that. But what I did to go ahead and make him move was kill some of the Varkids that are actually still spawned behind him. And that actually ends up making him go ahead and move on to the next scene, I guess, or scripted event, because he was just kind of sitting there stalled out doing nothing. So I guess maybe you have to kill these Varkids. I'm not sure on that. Further testing would be required. For now, though, just go ahead and assume you need to kill these Varkids in order to get the Varkid up here to go ahead and spew out and, you know, pop. So, because we're using whiskey to give the scent of Hammerlock, that actually killed that Varkid. He just got too drunk to track him. You know, obviously if you drink too much you'll die, and that's what happened to that Varkid there. Which is kind of funny. You know, I laughed when it happened. Kind of irritating though, because I knew I'd have to go ahead and inject another Varkid pod. So this stuff here is kind of just filler stuff. These Varkids, while there are new variations of Varkids, aren't really that interesting to fight. The new ones that can apply DOT obviously make them a lot more dangerous at overpowered levels, because damage over time at overpowered levels is pretty tough. But it's cool that there's actually some new enemies here in this area that do new things and stuff. That's pretty cool. There were some new enemies in some of the other Headhunter DLCs as well, and it's always nice to have that, you know, unexpected change of pace as far as enemies go. Obviously, some of these enemies over here are just pretty much copies from the first campaign DLC for Borderlands 2. That's not really a bad thing, though. They're kind of cool enemies, and it makes sense that there would be pirates on an island, which is cool. Go ahead and move forward now. At this point, I'm rather convinced that I need to kill all the Varkids in order to get these scenes to go ahead and move along. And that's what I'm doing. The incinerator Varkids kind of worried me. I never really got lit on fire by anyone that applied a hardcore fire damage over time to me during this first playthrough, but I assume it's very possible, and the fireballs they spit, I would definitely recommend avoiding those. You know, I'm not sure if they can actually get an intense fire DOT, but, you know, I recommend avoiding it if you can. There's another one of those treasure injector pods that I don't have the syringe for. Like I said, I'll try to find that. It might come after you beat the raid boss. Who knows? I'll have to find it. Now here I see that the fire pimpernel is being heavily resisted by these little craboids, and which kind of leads me to believe that they might resist fire. You know, partially because they're water craboids. I don't know. And because of that, I do end up switching to the shock pimpernel before too long, because it looks like the fire one isn't working well. I could be wrong on that. They could just be resisting the DOT, but it seemed like the slag pimpernel was doing more damage than the fire pimpernel, which is kind of weird and wouldn't be happening unless the enemies resisted fire damage. Like I said, though, this is my first playthrough through this DLC. I'm not really sure about that yet. You guys can let me know in the comments, though, if you had kind of the same situation going on. Probably could take some screenshots or slow down a video and figure out exactly if they are resisting fire DOT or actual fire damage, I should say. Ended up being a Varkid up here. This Varkid is one of the caustic Varkids, so there are Varkids of different elements. Theoretically, you know, if you had a bunch of caustic and fire Varkids, you could get multiple DOTs applied to you. depending on shield, the shield you're wearing. If you have one of those elemental effects blocked by having a alkaline or inflammable shield, then they won't be as bad. However, I am wearing a grounded shield because I use the chain lightning grenade to strip my shield for melee 0. And if you are, going to use the chain lightning, it's most beneficial to use the grounded hide so that you don't get killed by your own shock DOT, which can happen quite easily with a chain lightning and a non-grounded shield. I thought this scene here was really cool. The pirates are coming from the boats and coming onto land here. I thought that was pretty neat. It just shows them kind of storming the beach, which is pretty cool, you know what I mean? I appreciated that at least. I thought it was a fun little fight. It's short. There's just a few guys who run up on the beach here, and then there's a few craboids as well. So nothing really too crazy that happens or anything. I just thought it was cool to see the boats come up and drop off guys. That was pretty neat. I thought it was rather inventive. It was something that didn't really happen in the Pirate DLC at all, really, and that was something I thought was kind of missing. Obviously, there wasn't much water in the Pirate DLC, but if they had like a large ship that kind of came up and stormed Captain Scarlet's boat, and you had to fight them all off then, like on the boat, I think that could have been a pretty cool scene, and that was a missed opportunity. Scenes that are kind of large like that are pretty cool to me, when there's large set pieces moving. I don't know, maybe I'm just kind of superficial like that. Superficious isn't a word, I don't think. But I just like things to look like they're kind of, magnificent and large and immense and stuff like that. And seeing those large boats come up was pretty cool. It was unfortunate that only a handful of enemies jumped off of them. I would have liked to fight like 100 or so and have them know, or have them let me know that Crazy Earl had done like some crazy things to them and he was just kind of playing us like a fool. That would be kind of funny as a joke, I think, but it's not what happened, and you only had to fight a handful of enemies there. But it still did look really cool. I would have liked there to be way more enemies, though. So now we are activating the water wheel. There's, I think, 4 buttons you need to push in order to get the water wheel going. And that will go ahead and activate these ammo machines and the tube elevator to get us to the other island. So that's where we're going to go now, towards the transit tunnel. Go ahead and restock on ammo, though, so that we don't run out of grenades or sniper rifle ammo. Looks like the water wheel's working just fine, and we'll be headed out of here now. Pretty impressive set piece as far as the water wheel goes and everything. It was cool how it moved into the waterfall like that, and then you were able to see it start generating power and have the vending machines turn on. That was pretty well done. It's the little things. Anywho, now we are transitioning to the transit tunnel. This part here I thought was really, really cool. It was cool to, you'll see it, I won't say it until we get down to the bottom of this elevator here. But, you know, Brick says it best. You know, it is very pretty. We're underneath the water here, and there's like fish and stuff going around. Kind of like some Finding Nemo fish, it looked like. It'd be cool if there were some like really ugly fish out there. That would have been cooler for me. But, you know, it's still pretty cool just to see it under the water. You're kind of down here in an aquarium type thing, or not an aquarium. I don't know what this would be called. An underwater tube? A person aquarium? An air aquarium? I'm not sure. A place you can breathe underwater. Now we're going to go ahead and equip this shock pimpernel like I was talking about, because it did look to me like those craboids were resisting fire, which is not ideal for using a fire pimpernel. You have to kill all the enemies in this area in order to get the door to open here. And when the door opens, there's going to be a couple of ship dudes that run out here, pirate guys, and you'll have to kill them in order to get the Varkid to move, I'm assuming. That's why I'm killing all these enemies. If you watch my OP8 melee playthrough, I've pretty much memorized what enemies are actually necessary to kill during the main campaign, and I don't have that advantage here, so I just kill, you know, as much as I feel I need to kill in order to get the events to happen, in order to move through.
Savages are attempting to summon the Son of Craw Fight relax as I speak. Hey, man.
So now we're getting over here to the next island.
I graduated from Eden 4 Megaversity with honors. Check your privilege.
Sounds like we're going to be fighting quite a few of those savage guys over here. And obviously with those guys, you kind of have to watch out if you're playing Sniper Zero, because they don't have easily accessible critical hit points, which is, you know, pretty aggravating for some, and I'd agree with that. Luckily though, the Pimpernel is powerful enough that if you just get good Pimpernel shots, you can actually take those guys out. However, if they're leveling up and stuff, it can be kind of difficult. And so, if you're, you know, versed in both Melee and Sniper Zero, I'd probably recommend Melee Zero for running through this first half of this DLC when you're fighting all of these tribesmen up here in just a few. He makes it a little bit easier with Melee than it would be with sniping, mainly because they do hide their critical hit spots very well. Obviously, it's still doable with Sniper Zero, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's impossible or anything. But with those masks those guys wear, it is a lot more difficult. So here was pretty much the sketchiest situation I got in during this first playthrough of this DLC, mob-wise at least. There was a lot happening right here. There was a badass Varkid and a badass tribesman, and then there was that fire Varkid in the air that I was worried about. And then we had another shock Varkid as well. The shock Varkid is very similar to a badass Varkid, I believe. I don't know. I guess it also has shock features with it. And you have to watch out for those guys a little bit. I was very worried about the fire Varkid at this point in time, the Varkid Incinerator up here. And he wasn't flying in a very good spot for me to get an execute on him, and because of that, I just keep getting lit on fire. Luckily, it's not high intensity fire damage over time, and I'm able to tank it pretty well. However, it was still irritating me greatly that this Varkid was up here. And because I wasn't able to get a good execute on him for a while, several of the villagers had leveled up, and we got another badass Varkid to spawn. So this actually made it pretty tough. I was worried I was going to go down here. Luckily, I don't. That worked out very well for me. And we're able to get through all of these triggermen and warriors and everything. You'll notice some of them are leveled up to the bloodthirsty level right now, which is pretty high level, I think. And I'm not really sure where the witch doctor is at this point. I'm not noticing among the other villagers and stuff that are about. And because of that, they just keep leveling up. They're all the way up to animal level right now. Luckily, they got kind of stuck right there for whatever reason. I was able to kill these guys actually pretty easily because they got stuck. When they level up like that, they get a lot healthier and a lot more damaging. We also got this Tubby Varkid, and we're going to go ahead and take him out. Tubby Varkids almost always drop orange or pearlescent loot, and we got a legendary nurse comm there, which is pretty good. It's a fun comm for a Maya build. And we're going to be headed in to this next area now, which will get us closer to the end of this DLC, or the end of this first quest for the DLC. I finally found that witch doctor I was looking for. He was the one who was leveling up all the guys, trying to give me a bad day, but it didn't work out well for him. Looks like there's some more tribal huts and stuff up there, and we're going to have to fight through some more villagers up there. They do weigh the guys on pretty heavy during this little area, it seemed like to me. There aren't an overabundance of enemies, but there are, you know, a hefty number to fight. I think there's, you know, 6 or 7 that spawn right now, and then there's a few replacements when you kill these guys, and a few more guys further up closer to Hammerlock and the Son of Craw Fight up there, which is pretty cool. You know, take them out pretty easily, but you do have to watch out for the witch doctors, especially the electric witch doctors. Electric witch doctors are definitely the toughest of all of the witch doctors, and if there's any of those guys, definitely pick when you're going to get an execute on those guys, because you get too close to them and they start with the shock damage that's very hard to avoid, and they can put you down pretty easily and very quickly. The paralyzing witch doctor there was doing his wormhole move, and I had to use the grog nozzle in order to survive. Luckily, I was able to kill him though with this execute, and now I know that these guys aren't going to be leveling up anymore, and I'll probably be pretty safe. Obviously, every time you get a mini must fall to boost your execute time, give you a little bit more execute time, your kunai get refreshed, and you can go ahead and throw another volley of those. If your shield is down, the kunai catch roid damage, and you'll be doing a lot more damage that way as well. Go ahead and kill this last guy now. And once he's killed, we'll go ahead and inject this large Varkid pod over here. And this Varkid will actually be the one that will lead us to Hammerlock. Finally, a Varkid big enough to take the booze. Or handle its booze, I should say. So he's going to pop out here. He's badass size, which is good. Super badass and ultimate badass Varkids are a lot tougher than badass Varkids. Once they get to that super level, they get a lot faster attack-wise and a lot harder to health gate against because they have more projectiles and stuff. Those ultimate badass Varkids are really tough as well. Obviously, Verm is as well. Again, I'm not sure if he can spawn here. It would be cool if he could, though, and I would try to get Verm to spawn down there with Son of Craw using the enemy swapper, because I think that would be hilarious. I'll have to check on that. Like I said, I'll use the enemy swapper pretty soon after I get done recording audio for this video and check to see if there's anything cool or secret in this DLC. I thought the Varkid was trying to go down the bridge there, but he was just kind of exploring it. He comes to this door over here and knocks this open, and you can see pretty much right away that this is where the boss fight's going to be. It's pretty obvious if you look at it head on, and if you check the mini-map as well, it looks like only an arena is left unblacked out. And obviously they're saying we're close to Hammerlock now. Here are some of the tongue-in-cheek jokes I was talking about here with the old Vault Hunters talking about the ledge in Borderlands 1 where you could easily kill Craw without him being able to hit you. Obviously the fight was a lot more fun if you actually fought him the real way as opposed to hiding behind the ledge, but for some people that might not be the case and they can enjoy that ledge way. Gonna go ahead and go into this area now. I thought this stage piece was beautiful. You know, like the big fight here during this, you know, completely impossible, like, waterfall around all sides area is going. I thought it was really cool. And this animation was cool, but all these pre-rendered animations only play on one monitor if you're playing in NVIDIA Surround or iFinity mode with multiple monitors. I think that's silly. They should render them in at least triple wide. You know, preferably at least quintuple for those people who are going with that ultra wide. You know, that's not really a big deal. Extreme first world problems there. One thing I noticed immediately about Son of Craw is that he does not hold slag for very long at all. And at this point, I was kind of just feeling out his mechanics. I didn't know exactly how he would act and everything. His hitbox is very wonky for melee. I noticed that right away as well. And his main thing is that he's huge and he can knock you about a bit. Luckily, he doesn't have anywhere near the knockback amount that Terramorphous or some of the other raid bosses have. And I wasn't thrown anywhere near the edge, I don't believe, to where I could have died. It looks like you can definitely fall off the stage here, and that's one of the ways to die. But if you stay fairly centralized, that probably won't happen to you. Now, the fight in the raid mode is obviously a lot different. This is just the story mode fight. And sometimes he'll go underground and you'll need to kill several handfuls of little mob enemies in order to get him above ground again. And once you do that, he'll come back up and then you can deal more damage to him and then he'll go back down again. I do think it's very aggravating that he only holds slag for about 2 seconds, because that's not long enough for Melee Zero to slag him and then get a good Height of Terramorphous execute on him, unfortunately. And that's a real shame for me. I don't like that very much at all, because, you know, like, it doesn't hurt other characters quite as bad as it hurts Melee Zero, I'd say, which is kind of aggravating for me. But, you know, it's cool that Melee Zero is sometimes a little bit more difficult to play. It adds a little bit of fun and variety to it, I guess. Because the little crabs were resisting fire, I thought that possibly Crawmerax would as well. And that's why I'm using the Shock Pimpernel for this little part. using the chain lightning to recover my health. This fight would probably be a good situation where using the Herald and swapping to a Moxie weapon would be a very good strategy to recover your health, because he is very large and the Herald won't miss him with its spread depending on where he comes up, you know. And you'll be able to shoot those bullets and easily switch to a Moxie weapon during the travel time before the bullets reach target, and then you'll be able to go ahead and recover your health that way. I'm just going to go ahead and waste all these little guys. I guess Melee Zero is very good at wasting these tiny mobs, and that works out pretty well. And you'll be able to kill all of these guys pretty easily, no matter what your class is, so long as you don't let the Varkids level up too much. So there's kind of a DPS check there, I guess, or at least a priorities check that you're killing the Varkids when they go into their pod mode, because once you get multiple of those elemental Varkids in the air, they can actually be pretty difficult. These giant craboids look like they're going to have a lot more health than they do. They basically just have really large hitboxes and enhanced attack box as well, or enhanced attack box as well, as compared to a mini craboid. And they obviously have a little more health, but not enough to where they're actually like a badass enemy or anything. They're still very, very weak. I'm not sure how I feel about getting up close and trying to melee spam Crawmerax yet. I don't know how well that will work. Like I said, I'm playing it pretty safe here. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself and go down my first time fighting this boss. That'd be super scrubby. Go ahead and get more kunai on it. Those kunai were boosted by roid damage, so they did quite a bit of damage. I was finally able to get an execute there with the rapier, and it did quite a bit of damage to him. And we're, you know, getting really close to killing blow now on this boss here. He's below halfway, and that usually means the fight is well over halfway done with Melee Zero, because you only have to get them down to about 30% in order to get killing blow to activate, at which point we gain massive DPS boost. Here is kind of the irritating part of the fight. I have two of these incinerator Varkids in the air. Like I said, these guys worry me a little bit because I don't like to catch a damage over time. This damage over time looks like it was doing a fair amount of damage there. Luckily, I was able to tank it using the Grog Nozzle, and then I was able to kill this other incinerator Varkid pretty quickly. Now that I know all the incinerator Varkids are dead, and we've only got, or I guess I've got one more of them up there, I feel a lot better now that Crawmerax is back up in the playing area, because I'll be able to push him to killing blow with one more good execute, I believe. Go ahead and get kunai on him there. Unfortunately, they weren't boosted by roid damage. So there we go, we got a good execute, and now he's in killing blow range. When Crawmerax goes into the ground, it doesn't usually seem to do damage to me. Sometimes it's like a little bit after he goes into the ground, which I guess is good as far as, you know, getting your health back goes. So that's pretty much it, you know, for this video, guys. I'll have a video on the optional quest in the DLC as well, you know, the side quest, I guess it would be. And I'll try to have a video up on the raid boss and the treasure injectors as well. I do thank you guys very much for watching. I know I wasn't playing too quickly or anything, but I hope you still enjoyed the preview into this little DLC here. Or, I guess it wasn't a preview, this full look into this DLC. I'll be sure to show you my gear and skill build here after I go ahead and bring Hammerlock down. Like I said, I do thank you guys very much for watching. If you haven't yet, please take the time to subscribe, and you'll be able to know when my next videos are coming out. That little wooden thing there almost took me all the way back up to the top, which I thought was pretty funny. And once you go ahead and finish this quest, you're going to get an awesome craw head for your character. I think it's the same for all characters. I think it looks pretty cool on Zero, and I've been wearing it for a little while now. Like I said, I thank you guys very much for watching, and I hope to catch you next time. Bye, guys.
Hi-ho!